It's your fault we're facing such huge losses. What are you going to do about it? I work at a luxury hotel, and due to a mistake I made, I ended up angering a guest. The hotel is now at risk of losing a client worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got cocky, didn't you? Acting like you can do everything on your own with that smug look on your face. Jason, my boss who has always disliked me, took this opportunity to lash out at me. He acted as if he'd caught me red-handed, but I couldn't say anything. After all, it was my mistake to trust him. You will take responsibility for this. You're fired. What? Unless you want to get down on your knees right here and say I'm sorry. But you can't, can you? You've always been so cocky toward your boss. Ha! Serves you right. Falling into Jason's trap, I ended up leaving the job. But it turned out to be a turning point in my life. Losing everything allowed me to regain something far more important. And as for Jason, his life took a downward spiral. My name is Chris, and I'm 27 years old. I work in guest services at a luxury hotel. Is this the one you wanted, Sarah? Yes, this is it. I've been wanting to read this. When I handed her a paperback book, the woman's face lit up with joy. But how did you remember the title? I only vaguely remembered it myself. You mentioned last time that you liked this novel. Did I? Well, if you say so, I guess I did. You're amazing, Chris. Thank you. Please let me know if you need anything else. I bowed slightly and left the room. This hotel has many demanding guests, and it's not uncommon for them to make unreasonable requests. But you can never say that's impossible. No matter how difficult the request, you have to fulfill the guest's wishes. That's my job. Now then, what's next? Carrying a box from a famous chocolatier, I headed to another guest's room. The request was like this: I want chocolate for a snack, but I'm concerned about my figure, so it should be low-calorie. And no cheap stuff. I also don't want anything made by the hotel. I had called every high-end shop I could think of to find just the right item. In the end, it took me 45 minutes. I need to make up for lost time. I walked quickly, yet carefully, making sure not to make any noise in the hallway. Suddenly, from the other end of the hallway, I heard voices aimed at me. Look at him. He's walking at the exact same speed, with the exact same stride, every time. Is he even breathing? Did you see how he acted earlier? He's like the hotel robot. That's the nickname my coworkers had given me. Oh. Well, good job, Chris. One of my colleagues stepped into the middle of the hallway, blocking my path. It was my boss, Jason, the manager of the guest services department. Thanks, Jason. Is that box for David's latest ridiculous request? You really have your hands full, huh? It's just part of the job. Give it to me. I'll take it to him myself. He smiled kindly, but his intentions were clear. He wanted to take credit for my work. Without hesitation, I handed him the box of chocolates. All right, go ahead. It doesn't matter who delivers it, as long as it reaches the guest. But in the next moment, Jason's face twisted. Shh. Still acting like a robot, huh? They've been waiting for quite a while. Please deliver it quickly. I know. Damn old man. No wonder he's getting fat, eating all this junk. For your information, this is a low-calorie, low-fat product. It's made without added sugars and uses plant-based milk. Yeah. Stop talking like some kind of audiobook, it's creepy. With a disgusted look on his face, Jason waved his hand at me as if swatting away a bug. People often tell me that I'm oblivious to others' emotions. Even so, I can tell that Jason despises me. You talk back to your boss, you've got no charm, you can't read the room. No matter how much the guests like you. Having someone with no sense of teamwork in an organization is a problem. Just doing your job perfectly isn't enough, Chris. I'll keep that in mind. See? That's exactly why you're not likable. If you get it, then at least try smiling or something, if you're human. Though he badmouths the guests without hesitation, Jason is still a seasoned hotelier. After hissing at me under his breath, he stomped off, sounding like he was marching, yet somehow made no noise. Teamwork. Fulfilling the guests' requests perfectly, that's the job of a hotelier. It's something I learned from President Thompson when I started working here. From what I've seen, no one else follows President Thompson's teachings as closely as I do. Yet, the ones advancing in their careers are my coworkers, not me. At least try to smile, huh? I stepped into the restroom and stood in front of the mirror, forcing the corners of my mouth up. I pictured Jason's face. The result was a twitching, stiff expression that didn't resemble a smile at all. It's impossible. Chris. Were you the one who handled Jack's check-in? Jason's voice echoed through the staff room once again. The other co-workers exchanged knowing glances, as if saying, "Here we go again." Yes, I was, under your instructions. I was supposed to handle that guest. After check-in, you said, "That guy's too demanding, so you should take over from here." Yeah, I did. But I also told you, didn't I? At a good stopping point, you're supposed to say, "I can't handle this anymore." Only the seasoned Jason can, and hand it off. That's how the adult world works. A good stopping point meant when the guest was somewhat satisfied. In other words, deal with the difficult part, then let me take the credit. You should have picked up on that by now. You really lack understanding. I'll be more careful going forward. His unreasonable demands and behavior are nothing new. He can't stand not being number one and always wants things to go his way. My co-workers have learned to humor him, skillfully managing his mood. I'm the only one who can't play that game. Fine, whatever. You keep handling Jack, but don't come crying to me if you get stuck. This is for your own growth, so I won't help you. Understood. This is what you're supposed to say. Oh, please, Jason, I need your help, don't you get it? My apologies. Laughter erupted from my co-workers as they overheard the exchange. They were laughing at me, thinking I could handle this better. Well, I'll be getting back to work now. Ignoring Jason, who still seemed like he had more to say, I left the staff room. Today, the hotel is fully booked, even the suites. I don't have time to deal with someone like him. Perfect service, satisfying the guests, just focus on that. Muttering to myself as if to reinforce it, I walked down the hallway. Because I always have a blank expression, people whisper that I have no emotions. Even so, there are times when I'm at a loss for words. For instance, during emergencies like today. So, what are you going to do about it, Chris? Well, Jason, with his arms crossed, looked down at me like he'd just won a major victory. I couldn't say anything. The incident started because I missed an important appointment with a guest. A guest had asked me to urgently arrange a ride to the station, but I forgot to pass that request on to the driver. The guest is furious and said they'll never use this hotel again. And we're talking about a super VIP who always books a suite. Do you even need to think about how much we'll lose? I deeply apologize. I almost started to explain, but I stopped myself. I didn't want to make excuses, even though I knew this was part of Jason's scheme. Those eyes, it's like you're blaming me, isn't it? No, not at all. Yeah, thought so. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't given any message for the driver, not a word. I went silent. You seem busy, I'll pass the message on for you. It was none other than Jason himself who had offered to say that. Why did I trust him of all people? Even though I was swamped with other tasks, I had to admit, this was my mistake. In the end, I failed to fulfill the promise to the guest. You got too full of yourself. Normally, I'd say that mistakes happen from time to time when you're working. But this is a luxury hotel serving to celebrities. One mistake can severely damage trust and hurt profits. Jason, who usually makes mistakes himself, nodded in agreement as he spoke. It was as if he had completely forgotten how he had set me up. I stared blankly at his face, wondering how someone like him gets promoted. Anyway. You're fired, Chris. What? I thought I must have misheard him. But Jason said it again, clearly this time, fired. Fired. I muttered in disbelief, and Jason gave me a satisfied smile and nodded. A department manager doesn't actually have the authority to fire someone. Later on, I ended up leaving the hotel. Not as a result of being fired, but under the guise of a suspension with paid leave. It was something I requested myself. I wanted to take this time to reflect on what I really wanted to do. Feeling uncertain about my job, I set off on a journey with no clear destination. Still, maybe I should have planned a little better. Wanting to escape the noise of the city, I kept heading deeper into the countryside, and then even further. After hopping from train to train, I found myself surrounded entirely by mountains and fields. There weren't even any houses, let alone inns or hotels. Excuse me, is there anywhere to stay around here? After wandering around for a while, I finally found a local resident and asked. I was prepared to be dismissed with a "there's no such place around here," but there is. There is? Yeah, over that way. The local man pointed straight at the mountain in front of us. In the mountains? Yep. Way back there. It might not even be open anymore, though. What? With those somewhat unsettling words, the man offered to drive me to the inn. Gratefully accepting his kindness, I rode in his car to the Willow Creek Mountain Hot Springs Inn. Welcome. Thank you for choosing Willow Creek. The moment she lifted her head, it was like flowers bloomed all around us. The inn was so run down that you'd believe it if someone told you it had closed down. Everything looked worn and dilapidated. Even the crucial entrance, meant to welcome guests, seemed somewhat dim. Yet, in the midst of it all, she was standing there with a smile so bright, it was as if she were glowing. I'm Olivia, the proprietress of this inn. We've been expecting you. My heart skipped a beat for a second. Well, of course, I'm a man after all. When a beautiful woman with an air of grace tells you she's been expecting you with a radiant smile, even if it's just a polite greeting, it's hard not to misunderstand. Well, I didn't make a reservation. A reservation, oh, a reservation. Ha! Ha ha! I've been waiting so long for a guest to come. It's been so long since I've even heard the word reservation. I'm sorry. I just got excited. Right. That sounded like a pretty serious problem for a business in the hospitality industry. And yet, she was smiling. It was as if the joy of having just one guest, me, far outweighed any anxiety about not having customers, by a long shot. Once again, thank you so much for coming. I will do everything I can to make sure you have a wonderful stay. She beamed with a radiant smile again. Her name was Olivia. She inherited the inn from her now deceased grandmother 3 years ago, at the age of 24. The number of guests has steadily declined, and now it's not uncommon for an entire month to pass without a single visitor. Yet she continues to run the inn, determined to keep it alive for the sake of the memories it holds. Incidentally, she's single and doesn't have a boyfriend. Not that I asked, she volunteered all this information herself. Still, this place really is falling apart. After Olivia left, I took a look around the room she'd shown me to. The walls and ceiling, which must have once been beautiful, were now faded with age. When I pressed my hand on the floor mat, it made a creaking sound that didn't seem reassuring. If I walked around too much, I had the feeling the floor might give way beneath me. Well, if you look at it a certain way, I guess it's got atmosphere. Some people would probably love this kind of charm. The hallway had been creaking nonstop since earlier. Olivia was walking all over the inn. I could tell whether she was coming closer or moving away just by the sound of her footsteps. That's something that would be unthinkable at the hotel I used to work at. Chris. Olivia called out my name as she approached, clearly from some distance away. This, too, would be unimaginable at the hotel. There's still some time before dinner, so feel free to enjoy yourself. Seconds are welcome anytime. I could sense her leaving something outside my door, and then she was gone again. When I slid open the sliding door to see what was there, I was greeted by a mountain of various sweets. Who on earth is supposed to eat all of this? But this was just the beginning. Chris, the hot spring is ready. Please use this towel. This is a pretty good towel. It's soft, isn't it? Hee, it's one of my favorites. Wait, it's yours? It's brand new, so don't worry. Come on, our bath is really spacious. Chris, do you drink alcohol? The local alcohol here is quite famous. I don't usually drink, but I guess since I'm here. Got it. I'll go get some then. Wait, are you heading out to buy it now? I'll be back in about 2 hours. And then she turned on the heating throughout the entire building, saying, "It's cold today, so I don't want you to catch a chill after your bath." She even lent me some of her own comic books so I wouldn't get bored. Her version of hospitality was unconventional, unpredictable, and yet incredibly thoughtful. Chris, excuse me. Your dinner is ready. It was just after 7 p.m. when the proprietress, who I hadn't seen for a while, returned to my room. She carried a large tray filled with an overwhelming number of small dishes and plates. Sorry to keep you waiting. Is there anything you don't like? I can remake it right away, so please don't hesitate to tell me. Did you make all of this yourself? It's embarrassing. After our chef quit, I've been practicing a lot. But I still have a long way to go. She smiled apologetically. She thought I wasn't satisfied with the quality of the food, but that wasn't it at all. Despite attending to so many small details and looking after everyone, she was able to prepare such an elaborate meal in such a short time. I was amazed by her efficiency. Olivia. It may not be the most luxurious food, but I made it with all my heart. Your heart? I'm just so happy that you came to stay here, Chris. That's how I feel. I didn't say anything. She smiled brightly, genuinely overjoyed. I said, "Thank you for the meal," and picked up my chopsticks, reaching for one of the small dishes. "This is delicious." I didn't even recognize the ingredients, and yet, the words slipped out naturally. "Really?" "Yes." "Oh, I'm so glad. That's a seasonal wild vegetable dish. Please try this one too, and this." She excitedly offered more dishes, her hands covered in cuts, likely from working with a knife. There were both old scars and fresh ones. Seeing that, Chris? Sorry. The food is amazing, but I can't seem to move my chopsticks. I was crying so much I could hardly see the food. These were tears of pure emotion. Her hands reflected her heart. Even though no guests were coming, she continued to practice with the thought, someday, someone will come, and I want to serve them delicious food. That spirit of hospitality. I was moved by her spirit of hospitality and by all the kindness she had shown me in just half a day. I thought I just needed to perfectly provide what the guest wanted, when they wanted it. I thought that was what maintaining the dignity of the hotel meant, but somehow, I couldn't fully accept it. I kept wondering, is this really right? I see. Even though she probably didn't understand what I was saying, the proprietress nodded quietly. Her gentle voice touched my heart, and I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. And then, the next morning, after a good night's sleep, I had my answer. I'll quit, I decided. That was a pretty short vacation. Or was it a suspension? I wonder if you actually learned anything. Jason sneered the moment I returned to the hotel. But I ignored him and walked straight into the building. Hey! Where do you think you're going? That's the president's office. What kind of business do you have there? I know. I'm going to submit this. I pulled out my resignation letter from my jacket and held it up in front of Jason. His face twisted into a grin. Oh, so you're quitting? Yes. Is that so? I mean, after a screw-up like that, even a robot would feel out of place, huh? Ha ha. He patted me on the shoulder and walked off. He was laughing in high spirits with a light, almost bouncy step. I paid him no mind and knocked on the door of the president's office. I see. I had high hopes for you, but that's a shame. President Thompson took the resignation letter and murmured quietly. Though he said he had high hopes, his attitude was surprisingly indifferent. Still, I felt a sense of relief and clarity. I finally realized what I really want to do. Thank you for everything. The day after I finished my last shift, I made my way back to Willow Creek. I had canceled my lease on the apartment, packed my things in my car, and drove for hours. I wouldn't leave until she hired me at that inn. With that determination, I went straight to see the proprietress. I know I'll be helpful. Please, hire me here. As soon as I entered the entrance, I made my case to Olivia. She looked shocked, her eyes wide with surprise at my sudden request. Well, it's true there are plenty of times when I could use some help, but with things the way they are, I can't really afford to pay you. Don't worry about the pay. I'll make my own money. Ha! Looking bewildered, I opened my laptop in front of her. Inside was everything I had started working on after submitting my resignation, the full Willow Creek revival plan. First, let's revamp the website. We need to highlight the inn's charm. Charm. You have all those memories with your grandmother, right? We should share those stories, update the photos too. Wait a minute. Why are you doing this? I don't even understand that part. I closed the laptop and extended my hand to her. The biggest charm of this inn is you, Olivia. I want people to know that. Please, just trust me. We could even leave the building as it is. There's a trend for abandoned-looking places, and some people actually prefer old, historical buildings. We'll just fix the parts that are dangerous. I see. After I explained the details of the revival plan, Olivia quickly agreed, saying, "Let's do it." Of course, the one who wanted to save this in the most was Olivia herself. Seeing even a glimmer of hope, she decided to place her trust in me. And maybe we could cut back on the number of dishes in the meals? What? That was way too much. You don't need to prepare that much for the guests to feel your heart. They'll be happy, trust me. Do you really think so? If you say so, Chris, I'll believe you. From the website renewal to reviewing the business strategy. The proprietress, Olivia, trusted me completely, despite only knowing me for a short time. Her trust made me happy, and I wanted to live up to it. So, I decided to use my secret weapon. A secret weapon? It's a bit of a gamble whether they'll come, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay. Seeing her puzzled look, I started typing an email on my laptop. The day of the grand reopening finally arrived. Now officially as a staff member, I welcomed the first guest to arrive. We've been expecting you. Thank you for coming all this way. It's been a while, Chris. I was surprised to hear you switch jobs, but this is quite a charming inn. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Adam Smith was a former guest I used to serve at the hotel. A CEO of a well-known company who frequently stayed in suites. Sending him an email had been a long shot, but to my surprise, he actually came. If you're recommending it, I'm sure it's a good place. I've been needing a break, so I'll take my time to relax. Of course. Please, come on in. Seeing this wealthy-looking guest arrive, Olivia's eyes widened in surprise from the entrance. After that, more executives from major companies and famous influencers started arriving. Of the people I informed about the reopening of the new Willow Creek, more than half actually showed up. Chris, who are you, really? After several busy days, once all the guests had checked out, Olivia finally asked me, looking overwhelmed. I smiled and responded, "I'm just an ordinary former hotel employee." Soon after, Willow Creek became a hot topic online. The guests who came for the reopening posted about it on social media, and since they were mostly business leaders and famous Instagrammers, the inn started gaining serious attention. These days, it's known as the hidden gem and where celebrities flock, and the phone never stops ringing with reservation requests. All the rooms are booked today as well, and both Olivia and I are swamped with work. Even with fewer rooms, this is kind of overwhelming, don't you think, Chris? I didn't do anything. Everyone's coming here to meet you, Olivia. Oh, come on. Though she was being modest, I could confidently say she was the main draw. It wasn't just the inn getting attention online, but Olivia herself had become a bit of a celebrity as the stunning proprietress with unmatched hospitality. Well, it helped that I had featured her prominently on the new website. Fine then. In that case, we need to put your picture on the website too, Chris, as the hero who saved this inn from closing. No, that's okay. Nope, I'm giving you an order as the proprietress. It's happening. All right. Having single-handedly kept this inn going, Olivia turned out to be surprisingly strong-willed and stubborn. Figuring it was pointless to argue, I let her do as she pleased. Little did I know what kind of guest that would attract. Just look at it, it's falling apart. It looks like it could collapse any minute. As soon as he arrived, the guest pointed at the building and laughed. When I heard the name on the reservation, I thought, no way. But sure enough, the guest was none other than my former boss, Jason. Hey, Chris. How've you been? Man, it was a real pain getting out to this mountain retreat. Welcome, thank you for coming. Jason peered closely at my face and said, you've changed a bit. A robot like you. That unpleasant expression is pretty rude to a guest, isn't it? I apologize. That's enough, Jason. The man who had come with Jason spoke up from behind, stopping him. It's been a while. Mr. Thompson. It seems like things are going well. I'm looking forward to experiencing this renowned hospitality for myself. Yes. Please, this way. Slightly nervous, I led Jason and President Thompson into the inn. I didn't need to ask their purpose. They had come to this trending hot springs inn, posing as guests, to spy on the competition. Wow, this place is pretty rundown inside too. Think it's safe? No food poisoning or anything? We are very particular about the freshness of our ingredients, so please rest assured. Oh, really? Well, okay then. Jason glanced around, making snide remarks here and there. When Olivia smiled warmly at him, he grinned foolishly, his guard completely down. Meanwhile, beside him, President Thompson remained silent, arms crossed, observing everything carefully. Is something wrong? No. Would it be all right if I walked around the inn? I promise we won't disturb the other guests. That might be. Understanding their true purpose, I felt on edge. But without hesitation, Olivia smiled and agreed. Chris, please show them around. But the courtyard is lovely right now. Please take your time. Even though it was during a busy time, Olivia showed no sign of being bothered, bowing with a warm smile. President Thompson continued watching her closely, his arms still crossed. Later that night, once the rush of dinner service had settled down, I was summoned to the room where President Thompson and Jason were staying. Chris. When I saw the conflicted expression on Olivia's face, I knew she had learned about my connection to them. It was incredible. President Thompson muttered, staring at the empty trays before him. Even Jason, who had mocked the food earlier as cheap and shabby, had finished everything and now seemed somewhat awkward. Olivia, I apologize for deceiving you. I run a hotel chain in the city, and Jason here is my subordinate. We came here to investigate your inn. Mr. Thompson. I also apologize for his rude remarks. Jason? Yes. I'm really, truly sorry. With a sharp glare from the president, Jason quickly bowed his head in a fluster. Having revealed everything, President Thompson explained the purpose of their visit. It's no wonder this inn has such a great reputation. The building may be old, but it's immaculately clean and well maintained. Everywhere we walked was warm and inviting, with a sense of comfort and cleanliness. That's because your attention to detail extends to every corner. The same goes for your service, providing exactly the right care when it was needed, always with a smile. And managing all of this while looking after many guests at once. Could you do the same, Jason? Well, caught off guard by the sudden question, Jason stumbled over his words and looked down. Without waiting for a response, President Thompson fixed his gaze on me. It seems you're the one who saved this remarkable inn from the brink of closure, Chris. No. I haven't done anything. No need for modesty. I knew I wasn't wrong to put my trust in you. Please, come back and work at my hotel. What? Mr. Thompson. Both Jason and I spoke at the same time. Ha ha. You're joking, right, Mr. Thompson? Be quiet. You're fully aware that since he left, we've seen a visible decline in guests. Especially our regulars, they've stopped coming. What excuse do you have for the drop in service quality? But I'm still against it. Just because he managed to save some rundown and doesn't erase the damage he caused to the hotel. Silence. President Thompson's thunderous shout echoed throughout the room. Mr. Thompson, did you think I wouldn't find out? About the way you mistreated him. About who used dirty tricks to set up my son. What? Wait, what? This time, it was Jason and Olivia who both reacted simultaneously. I realized it was time to reveal the truth. I'm not going back, Dad. No matter how desperate things are over there. Dad. So, it's true. Yes, Jason. I am the son of Mr. Thompson, standing right in front of you. Whenever people asked about our shared last name, I would just say it was a coincidence. I'd learned from experience that people treated me differently as soon as they realized I was the president's son. That's why, since my student days, I had hidden my identity and started working at my father's hotel under my own merit. I had no idea, Chris. The moment Jason learned the truth, his entire attitude flipped. I gave him a cold look as he scrambled to save face. See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Ha! I haven't changed at all, yet as soon as you hear Mr. Thompson's son, you completely switch sides. It's people like you that I wanted to avoid. Which is why I never told anyone. Ah! Jason was at a loss for words, his face turning pale as he lowered his head. I had wanted to learn about the hotel's inner workings as just Chris in preparation for taking over one day. That was another reason I kept my identity a secret. Though, in the end, I no longer had a future there. Still, the skills I had learned in marketing and branding for that future helped me turn this around. It seems that nothing in life is ever truly wasted. Even if I had stayed and taken over the hotel, with people like Jason in leadership roles, I would have been surrounded by others just like him. I'm glad I got to see his true nature and that I was able to leave that place. My father let out a groan, still looking dissatisfied. Then, the next moment, he bowed deeply to me. Even so, we need you now more than ever. Please, come back. Dad. It was the first time I'd seen my father like this. I was confused, instinctively glancing behind me, seeking help. I had hoped that she would surely stop me. However, Olivia. It's all right, Chris. Go help your father. Olivia smiled and nodded at me, her eyes glistening with tears that were ready to fall. Seeing her like that, Dad, you always told me, don't show your emotions, and you scolded me for it. Chris. As the son of the president, as someone who would one day lead an organization, I was taught never to let others see my emotions. I lived my life hiding how I felt. At first, it was just a lesson, but eventually, I lost the ability to truly smile, to get angry, or even to cry. I didn't know how to feel anymore. It got to the point where it felt like my emotions had disappeared entirely. And I just went through each day without even feeling fear or anxiety. But when I met Olivia, and she gave me her heartfelt hospitality, I remembered that I still had emotions. Olivia brought me back to being a person who could feel. And thanks to her, I also realized that my work up until then had been missing something vital: heart. Hospitality, Dad. Her way of serving guests and the inn she has protected are full of genuine care for people. That's what I truly wanted to be. A hotelier who embodies hospitality, just like her. Chris. I'm sorry. I was wrong, and I finally see it now. It's okay, Dad. Just let me stay here with her from now on. That's enough for me. Chris. At that moment, tears finally spilled from Olivia's eyes. My father, too, nodded silently several times, his voice shaky as he said, I understand. But I can't just abandon you either, Dad. I really do want to help if you're in trouble. What does it mean? How about a partnership between the inn and the hotel? If Olivia is okay with it, of course. I looked at both my father and Olivia. They were both initially surprised, but slowly, smiles spread across their faces. That sounds great. Though I'm not sure I fully understand it. I'll explain everything later. What about you, Dad? Yes. Thank you. As expected, you truly are my son. My father wiped away his tears. Quickly, from the side, Jason chimed in with his usual flattery, You're amazing, Chris. My father immediately shut him down. Enough. The only reason my son never pandered to you was that he despised people like you. Can't you understand that yet? Yes. Jason, his face pale, was practically dragged out by my father. Eventually, through my father's investigation, it became clear that Jason's behavior and frequent mistakes were a significant issue. As a result, he was demoted, and eventually, he chose to resign on his own. The hotel reportedly became a more open and pleasant place, with the staff appearing much happier than before. It seems there were more people dissatisfied with him than he had imagined. Word of the partnership between the remote mountain inn and the luxury hotel became a major topic once again. At the same time, as Olivia shared her expertise in hospitality with the hotel staff, my father's hotel gradually recovered its clientele. With my father's investment, Willow Creek was able to renovate while preserving its original atmosphere. Now, with a larger staff, it's known as a high-end inn that's nearly impossible to book. Amid this busy new chapter, I continue to work alongside Olivia. Everyone's saying it, apparently, I'm the proprietress's right hand. My right hand. Yes, that's true. I can't function without you anymore, Chris. Ha ha. Even though I know she doesn't mean anything more by it, her smile makes me almost believe otherwise. I'm serious, you know? If you ever left, I don't think I could survive. Ha! Her expression was so sincere. I couldn't help but hope it wasn't just a misunderstanding. Moments that change your life, and they're always out there, waiting. And despair? It's never too late to feel it, not until you've finished searching for those moments. Just like how I, after being lost for so long, found a heart that cares for others once again through one life-changing encounter.